Welcome to Good for Bitcoin, a weekly show recorded live every Friday where we recap the top events of the week and talk about everything that is good for Bitcoin. If it's built on Bitcoin, then it's good for Bitcoin. Let's get started.
Content shared on this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute financial, investment, or legal advice. The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guests and do not reflect the official policy or position of any other agency, organization, or company. We encourage you to conduct your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making any financial decisions.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Good for Bitcoin. I'm Brandon, your social media manager at Trust Machines, and slightly different show today because it is just me today, which is a little scary, to be honest with you. I remember when we first did the show, I think it was with Shaylee, and something happened. There was like technical issues or something. She ended up being like a couple minutes late, or something happened where like she got rugged on Twitter Spaces, and I had to like fill the room for a couple minutes by myself, and it was really scary and really intimidating. So hopefully that doesn't happen today, and things are a little bit better. We have a lot to get into still, so we will see. It might be a shorter show just because it is only me, but we still have a lot of important news to get into, so didn't want to miss a week because there's just so much to recap. So let's get right into it. First, wanted to shout out Granite's July creator program wrapped up yesterday. We are going to be judging our favorite, I think it's our top 5 favorite entries. Each of them is going to win, I believe, 100,000 sats in SBTC. So five people will win that. We'll, I think, announce those next week. Looking forward to that. We had another really great month of submissions. A lot for us to go through and review. Yeah, looking forward to that next week. Also today, Locker announced $5 BTC rebates for any new registrations. For anybody that is going to any domain provider, it could be GoDaddy, Namecheap, what have you, whoever sells .locker names. If you buy a .locker today, or if anybody buys a .locker today, they're going to get $5 in Bitcoin just for setting it up. And it's really cool. We have all these huge registrars like GoDaddy that are onboarding people, right, to Bitcoin. Many users that might be buying .lockers have never used Bitcoin before. Maybe they're just like interested in, getting a new domain name, .locker, and they get this little $5 Bitcoin bonus. And, what is the incentive for that, right? They're having to go download Lether or go download Xverse and set up a wallet for the first time and getting, that $5 BTC and also, claiming their BTC name, which is kind of the Web3 component on BNS. Really cool campaign that just kicked off today. Yeah, excited to see how many people, we orange pill on .locker. As always, we've got to kick it off with all of the public company news. So let's just get right into it. Smarter Web Company has purchased 225 BTC. They now hold 1,825 Bitcoin. Metaplanet bought 780. They now hold 17,132. We have Vulcan Inc. that bought 321 Bitcoin. I think we talked about them for the first time last week. They now hold 3,500. And Strategy announced a sale of up to $4.2 billion of a new preferred stock. It has this new ticker STRC to buy more Bitcoin. So they are just using every lever that they can possibly imagine to acquire more Bitcoin. And this week they bought 21,021 BTC for $2.46 billion. And they now hold 628,791 Bitcoin. Crazy. This news was very exciting. Coinbase had their earnings call this week, and they announced that they purchased 2,509 BTC in Q2. So over these last 3 months, they now hold 11,776 Bitcoin, or $1.2 billion worth. They also announced that they have 1.8 billion in crypto assets total. So they have a little bit more in other assets as well. They now have the number 10 spot out of all public companies. They surpassed Tesla with this announcement. So Tesla is now number 11. And this is very cool. We talked about this a few weeks ago. I think there was like a random tweet from Brian Armstrong, who's the CEO of Coinbase, and he just made this offhanded comment like, oh yeah, we're buying Bitcoin every week. And people were like, what? Because they're not very public about that, or they haven't been very public about that in the past. But I think since we're seeing this new meta of all of these Bitcoin treasury strategy companies coming about, Coinbase certainly wants to be in that mix as well. So very cool that they are acquiring Bitcoin. They have a long way to go to catch up to others like MicroStrategy, and they certainly had a head start where they could have been acquiring more, but still very cool to see them getting into the mix. We saw Jack Mallers 21. They expect to add 5,800 Bitcoin before their planned listing. So they are still trading under the ticker CEP. They have not finalized that merger yet into 21, or XXI was the ticker that they're going to convert to. But they are going to be adding a little bit more Bitcoin to their treasury before that planned listing. That increases their total holdings to at least 43,500 BTC. They also posted their escrow Bitcoin address, which contains all the Bitcoin that they will be holding onto. So you can actually see that on-chain address that holds all that Bitcoin. Pomp's company, which is ProCap BTC, they changed their ticker to BRR, which is kind of fun. They said that the ticker stands for Bitcoin rate of return, but as we all know, money printer go burr, so it has also kind of a funny name there, which is cool. They currently hold 4,950 BTC, and they are wanting to emphasize that Bitcoin return rate that they are, embodying with their ticker really says that their goal is to outperform Bitcoin. And we will see how well they do at that as we continue to track all these public companies. There's also something that said certain holders of BRR will now have exposure to any future price appreciation of the Bitcoin on its balance sheet. I saw that news. I thought it was a little confusing because I would have assumed that was the case for all these treasury companies, but maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. And lastly, we saw some news that Kraken is looking to IPO at a $15 billion valuation, and they're looking to raise, I guess, $500 million. So Kraken is also nearing being a public company soon, hopefully. Kicking things off, I think this actually happened maybe over the weekend or maybe late Friday after we recorded last week's episode, but Galaxy Digital announced that they had facilitated the largest ever Bitcoin sale. And I'll just read this quote here because it's pretty crazy how big it is. Galaxy completed the sale of more than 80,000 Bitcoin, valued at over $9 billion based on current market prices, for a Satoshi era investor, representing one of the earliest and most significant exits from the digital asset market. The transaction was part of the investor's broader estate planning strategy. So super interesting. One, that, we have this person, whoever it is, held for that long. Also that, the fact that they sold this really, really large amount of Bitcoin, 80,000 Bitcoin, it just got completely absorbed by the market and it barely affected the price. During that time, we only saw Bitcoin sort of quote unquote crash from $120,000 to $115,000. Right now, it's pretty much at the same. I'm looking at the price right now. It's like 114,000. Barely had any effect on the price, even though there was such a large sell-off. So pretty cool that, Bitcoin is becoming as liquid as it is. It's just really impressive. I saw some news from Bakkt. They are selling their loyalty business to focus on being what they call a pure play crypto company. I guess they had this loyalty product that allowed their clients to offer travel and merchandise perks. They are selling that off. So they're adding that the sale will allow it to focus resources on the company's core crypto offerings and stablecoin payments infrastructure. Does not seem like the market liked this news. On Monday, they were trading at, they are a public company. They were trading at $19.43, dropped to around $10 on Tuesday after their announcement. And it's been around that price ever since. So yeah, I don't know what to make of that, but they did also say that they're going to be also doing a public offering of Class A shares to raise up to $75 million. Some of that will be used to purchase Bitcoin and other digital assets, according to them. So maybe we will be talking about them soon in the public companies section. Big news from PayPal. They unveiled their Pay with Crypto product that basically will allow US merchants to accept over 100 different cryptocurrencies. They are really talking about this as a cross-border, just a way to improve kind of cross-border payments and just credit card payments in general. They can be very expensive for merchants. They say that their cross-border tool can decrease the cost of transactions by up to 90% for merchants compared to international credit card processing fees. Just looking at, by comparison, Stripe, who's, one of PayPal's, I guess, competitors, does a ton of credit card transactions and for merchants. They charge 2.9% plus 30 cents fees for all transactions. PayPal is saying that this service will be 0.99%. So it'll be certainly much cheaper than the kind of standard around 3% credit card fees that merchants typically have to pay. So pretty cool. What happens when somebody pays with crypto is it'll automatically be converted either to their stablecoin, which is PYUSD, or a fiat conversion. PayPal's handling kind of the conversion rates on the back end, and then merchants are just earning either stablecoin or regular fiat. And then they also, I think, mentioned that their stablecoin, the PYUSD, I think is giving them like 4% APY. So you're earning, and then you're also getting interest on that as well. So pretty cool. We've been talking about stablecoins a lot on the show, and stablecoins are certainly a really great onboarding tool for Bitcoin, right? It's getting your money on chain at least so that you can potentially allocate Bitcoin a little bit easier in the future. So really cool developments there. Coinbase has announced a partnership with Chase. Say that you can now use Chase credit cards on Coinbase, for one. Secondly, you can redeem card rewards for USDC on Coinbase, and then also directly link Chase accounts to Coinbase. The card rewards one is pretty big. If you can redeem to USDC on Coinbase, one, you can earn some interest there with USDC. But again, stablecoins easier to onboard onto Bitcoin. So could be potentially a really cool development. And I feel like we haven't heard many comments from Jamie Dimon, who's the CEO of Coinbase, or not the CEO of Coinbase, CEO of Chase. But historically, he's been very, very, very anti-Bitcoin. So it'd be interesting to see what his thoughts are on Bitcoin now. I feel like we haven't heard many updates from him lately. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Big news this week is the White House released its digital assets report. Now found at the URL whitehouse.gov/crypto. Pretty amazing in 2025 that URL exists, whitehouse.gov/crypto. It is a really massive report. It's 166 pages long. We put together some top 5 takeaways, but if you want some, weekend reading, definitely feel free to download the PDF and you can read it for yourself. But there's 5 kind of things here is regulatory clarity. So one is it urges Congress to pass legislation that grants the CFTC oversight of non-security digital asset spot markets and supports the SEC and CFTC rules for trading, custody, and record keeping to eliminate regulatory gaps. This has been a big problem historically is one, it was hard to know what cryptocurrencies were securities and not securities. Therefore, it was really hard to know whether it was the SEC or the CFTC that sort of had jurisdiction over certain cryptocurrencies. So, of course, we need that clarity in order to know what is and what is not a security. And, that's what it's sort of outlining there. DeFi integration, it's promoting DeFi adoption by exempting software-controlled protocols from securities registration and affirming self-custody rights for digital assets. Of course, we'd love to see that. Anything that, is promoting self-custody rights and DeFi. We've seen, in the past, either like tax regulatory things where, maybe a smart contract might be, operating a protocol, right? That's how DeFi works. But then the smart contract would have been like legally required to give the US like the user's tax information. And obviously just like, that's just not how DeFi works. It doesn't work that way. So, just some more clarity on that, which is great. Stablecoin framework. Of course, we have the Genius Act, but builds on the Genius Act for a federal stablecoin framework to modernize payments and strengthen the US dollar's global role via dollar-backed stablecoins. Tax and banking reforms calling for clearer tax guidance on digital asset activities like mining and staking, and modernized banking rules to allow crypto custody and stablecoin services. And pro-innovation stance generally. So it shifts to an innovation-forward approach to make the US the crypto capital, with over 100 proposals to lead the blockchain revolution while addressing illicit finance and consumer protection. So love to see that. I think there was a lot of people that were confused or upset that the bill didn't smash by Bitcoin or talk a lot about Bitcoin treasury strategic reserve where they're going to start buying additional Bitcoin. Didn't have a lot in there, but still, very cool to see all of this come out from the White House and be such a comprehensive report. And of course, more to come. Also saw some really cool news from the SEC. For one, they have approved in-kind creations and redemptions for crypto ETFs. So rather than buying or selling ETFs with fiat, you'll have authorized participants, which is probably like accredited investors and institutions, stuff like that, will be able to buy in or cash out native crypto like Bitcoin for certain ETFs. So that's really cool. I do wonder, I don't think that they would like offer tax advice, so they didn't say this explicitly, but I think if you're able to, buy in or cash out native Bitcoin, I wonder if that reduces the tax burden of, looking like you sold Bitcoin to buy an ETF or looking like you sold an ETF to buy Bitcoin. Really interesting thing to keep an eye on there. Lastly, SEC has launched Project Crypto. Really, I think, impactful speech and such a departure from a lot of the comments that we saw with Gary Gensler. We saw the new SEC chair, which is Paul Atkins, announced this Project Crypto. And this is, quote, which will be the SEC's North Star in aiding Trump in his historic efforts to make America the crypto capital of the world. There's a lot of really important and really interesting things in this speech. I wanted to just pick out a couple quotes that I thought were the most significant. One is, we will reshore the crypto business that fled our country, particularly those that were crippled by the previous administration's regulation by enforcement crusade and Operation Choke Point 2.0. Whether an incumbent or a new entrant, the SEC welcomes all market participants who are hungry to innovate. So again, going back to that pro-innovation stance that the digital asset report talked about. Another quote here, the days of convoluted offshore corporate structures, decentralization theater, and confusion over security status are over. Despite what the SEC has said in the past, most crypto assets are not securities, which is very mind-boggling to think about when you compare it to Gary Gensler's stance just a few months ago when he was here. Our goal is to help market participants to slot crypto assets into categories such as digital collectibles, digital commodities, or stablecoins, and assess the economic realities of a transaction. It should not be a scarlet letter to be deemed a security. A broker-dealer with an alternative trading system should be able to offer trading in non-security crypto assets alongside crypto asset securities, traditional securities, and other services like crypto asset staking and lending without requiring 50-plus state licenses or multiple federal licenses. So also just reducing that burden, that regulatory burden, right? You have, especially for all these like CeFi lenders, I've seen it firsthand, they have to have licenses in all 50 US states. That's in many part why you don't see like Strike, for example. Strike has their new Strike lending. It's not available in every state yet because you have to go to each state and apply at each state individually. And it's just a huge headache and takes so much time. So to have some more clarity to reduce, a lot of this regulatory burden while still protecting users, super, super important. So definitely looking forward to seeing what comes out of that. But yeah, I encourage you guys to also go and review this speech from Paul Atkins. It's really interesting. Finally, we wanted to just acknowledge the Stacks 3.2 hard fork was successfully activated. That officially codifies SIP31. That mints the STX tokens that are going to the Stacks endowment that are going to help fuel growth for the ecosystem. So really exciting. And I just talked for maybe 20 minutes. And I think that's all the news that we have today. Like I said, it's going to be a shorter one just because it's just me, but hopefully you all have a great weekend. We will see y'all next week. I think Kate will be back next week. And have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you for listening. We record Good for Bitcoin live every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on X. Please follow us at Trust Machines Co. if you would like to listen and engage with us live. Visit us at trustmachines.co for all the latest Bitcoin news. We'll see you next week.